Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. Maybe we'll give people another second to join us. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. So, I just did something to my screen. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Appreciate everybody taking the time this morning. I have like a PowerPoint deck, so I'm going to share my screen in just a minute, and then we will get started. But I of course figured where we should start is with maybe the quickest of introductions, so that folks know who's on and who's here, and then just to be clear on the purpose of today's meeting, I don't know if this is the first meeting of the sort of primary chairs of different committees. I'm sure something like this has happened in the past, but it felt important to me and to our, also to I think our chair and to our strategic planning committee to get together with the chairs of our different committees. Some of you are either co-chairs or past chairs. I think there's a little bit of a mix of folks. But just to talk a little bit more about the priorities from our strategic planning. And then there are a couple of other agenda items that I also wanted just to get to as we begin the year. So really around kind of our governance structure. So I think you all saw that on the agenda. But again, to quick introductions, and Celeste, is there anything you want to say as we get started? Oh, looking for the right button. There you go.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. I'm appreciative that you can join us first thing on a Monday morning. I did have just a point of clarification. Because this is a meeting of the Youth Development Council and members of the Youth Development Council, and we have others who are not in the Youth Development Council, and we have a public comment at the end. Is the intention to run this similar to other public meetings where we have members of the public wait until the end to share comments, or could we talk through that a little bit as well after we do introductions, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, I think the quick answer is that we should have public comment at the end.
Okay.
And then go from there.
Great. Okay. Great.
There's a little time at the end for that.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Celeste Jansen. I'm the chair of the Youth Development Committee or Council, and I'm grateful to be here with you all. In order to do this in a timely way, should I call on someone and then everybody call on the next person?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
The fastest of introductions. I think that's probably the way to do it.
Great. Janet, you're next on my screen.
I got the first button the right time. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm Janet Ahrens, and I'm chair of the Administrative Rules Committee, which is very popular. So I don't want too many of you signing up in a big rush, but I'm always open to hear from any of you about the work we're doing there.
I'll just hop in and go next because I'm next to Janet on my screen. Melissa
Oh,
Gillard.
thank you. I'm sorry. Very good.
That's okay. I am executive support for the Youth Development Division and the administrative support for the council. John Teague, can you go next?
Yeah, John Teague, City of Kaiser Chief of Police, longtime member of the Youth Development Council, former chair of the Juvenile Justice Committee, and an invited participant. Thank you.
How about Paul?
Paul Sell, Re-Engagement Systems Manager for YDD. And how about Abe?
Abraham Magana, Grant Manager with the Youth Development Division. I'll go to Ryan.
Sorry, Ryan Shantz, Compliance Monitor for the Youth Development Division, primarily coordinate with the Juvenile Justice Committee. So, and let's say Cord.
Hi, I'm Cord Bucher, Special Projects Manager for Youth Development Division, Interim Chief of Staff. Am I the official Chief of Staff now? I might still be interim, but I was filling in for Sandy, who is retired but will be back for a bit while I'm out on leave anytime now. And I have someone on my next person on my screen. I just see the name Gorley.
I'm Lisa Gorley. I got an invitation to this meeting, city councilor and chair of our community health committee. And we have an engagement project with our school system with Western University. And so I was very interested in what we were going to hear today.
Hi, I'm Molly Rogers. I am the current chair of the Juvenile Justice Committee and a member of the YDC, and I'm going to jump to Jeff Parker.
Thanks, Molly. Good morning, Jeff Parker. I am the chair of the Workforce Committee, or it might be called Workforce and Re-Engagement Committee. Happy to be here, and I will toss it over to Fallon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Fallon Stewart. I'm the program manager for the Maslow Project in Southern Oregon. And
Fallon, it's really hard to hear you. Could you move your mic closer? It's not picking it up.
might be better.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Fallon Stewart, Maslow Project from Southern Oregon, grant recipient.
Joe, would you like to go next?
Yes, I'm Joe Bergeron. I'm the Youth Programs Manager at Southeast Works, and we're a grantee of recipient of one of the YDD Youth Innovation and Workforce Grants.
Wonderful.
Thank you. How about Heidi?
Good morning, I'm Heidi East McGowan. I'm a consultant and have the joy of facilitating some of our strategic planning work together. And I'll bump to Karen.
Good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Karen Spencer, and I head up the Strategic Planning Committee with the able assistance of Heidi and the wonderful leadership of Brian. Thank you.
All right, we have someone on the line. Your name says J-M-A-R-E-Z. Would you like to introduce yourself? Oh, wonderful. Hi, Juliana. Thank you.
Good morning. I just did a quick write-up. I'm just a guest.
Wonderful. Thanks. Okay, Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning. I'm also just a guest here. I received the Zoom link on an email newsletter, but I use she and they pronouns. I'm the program manager for the Community Advisory Council for Willamette Health Council, which is the governing board for Pacific Source CCO in Marion Polk County. I'm really happy to be here. I have lots of experience with youth, and so thanks for having me.
Great. Okay. Alyssa, are you able to share?
Hi, good morning. Alyssa Chatterjee. I'm the Governor's Deputy Education Policy Advisor, just joining to listen in this morning and offer whatever support I can.
Welcome. Okay, there's someone whose name says Eugene/Springfield.
Yes, here you go. Yeah, good morning. Eric Richardson here. I'm from Eugene with the NAACP. I'm just a guest. I got an invitation, so I'll just be listening in. We've got a lot of youth programs we're trying to do in the midst of COVID-19 and in-person tutoring and whatnot. So just like to hear. Thank you, guys.
Great. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Hansel, Youth Development Council, or Division Policy Analyst. Good morning.
Great. Sanji.
Good morning. My name is Sanji Moore. I'm the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Coordinator for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Team on the Youth Development Division.
Great. I see a caller who's just identified with iPhone and it doesn't say a name. Sorry,
Hi,
what
so
was that?
this is Marisela. I think that might be me.
Great.
Yeah, my name is Marisela Ortega. I am the development manager at Verde, and I am chair of the youth subcommittee.
Welcome. Okay. Eric.
That's me. I just changed the name.
Oh, great. Okay. Did I get everyone? I'm looking through. There's two screens if you see that. Jared, did you have an opportunity to go?
I haven't. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Jared Shaw, YDD's Workforce Policy Analyst and Grant Manager, focusing mostly on our workforce grants, but also now on some of our re-engagement grants. So thank you.
Great. All right, Brian, I think we can turn it over back to you.
Sorry,
Last
person was Sanji Moore, I don't think, actually. Did she?
Who did we not? Who miss?
Sanji Moore.
I think we did Sanji.
Oh, we did Sanji, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
No
Good
problem.
looking out.
All
Did we do
right.
John? We did John?
We did Chief T. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think we got him. And if other folks, if somebody joins or something, we'll just, you know, may ask that anyone add their name to the chat, and then we'll just keep going since we only have an hour this morning. So I'm going to share my screen. I am sure that I will probably mess this up, but I've done this before, so successfully, believe it or not. All right. Can folks see a slide that says meeting agenda? Maybe you could give me a thumbs up or a or something. Great, it's working. All right, so our meeting agenda, we've done welcome and introductions. We want to review and quickly discuss our strategic planning priorities, share and discuss strategic planning retreat outcomes. These are like draft, they're not totally complete, but just wanted to share those with committee chairs and those assembled. And then quickly talk about our Youth Development Council governance structure and some needs around that. So that's our primary agenda. We'll make sure at the end that we reserve some time for public comment too. All right, let's see if I can, yeah. So just wanted to real quickly start with our mission, vision, and values. Again, I'll read these really quickly. Both the Youth Development Division and Youth Development Council, our mission is to align systems, leverage community partnerships to ensure integrated, measurable, and accountable services for youth ages 6 through 24. YDD programs support educational and career success, focus on crime prevention, and reduce high-risk behaviors. Our vision is all of Oregon's youth have the opportunity to thrive and achieve their full potential. Our values, equitable access, equal opportunity, youth-centered approaches and results, inclusion and innovation. And then a set of beliefs. We believe all youth should have equitable access to supports, services, and opportunities. We believe in anti-racism. We believe all youth should be supported without either replacing or usurping family roles. And we believe in identifying innovative avenues for youth success. So just feel like it's important to start with those, particularly with some new folks and guests on the line, just so that we're all grounded in our mission, vision, values, and beliefs. So want to just share our priorities and kind of overarching strategies. These have been shared with the folks on this, the council members and staff in our quarterly meeting in December. So this information, I believe, will come as no surprise, but just wanted to quickly share our priorities and strategies. Excuse the sound if you're hearing stuff in the background. That's just my computer singing along, I guess. So our proposed strategies are, our proposed priorities are identify systemic problems, advance solutions, and support structural reforms, promote policies and partnerships that expand and leverage resources, achieve strategic outcomes through grant making. I added, well, guess what? I added it and programs. You know, we do some work, for example, our compliance monitoring that isn't grant making per se. So just added and programs that support youth-centered pathways, practices, and affirm identity and safety, strengthen YDD communication and awareness capacity to achieve our priorities, goals, and measurable outcomes. And then we have one internal priority. I feel good about just letting folks know that we also have this internal piece around continuing to strengthen cohesion and inclusion between the YDD and YDC, again, to achieve our priorities, goals, and measurable outcomes. I will pause there, just wanting confirmation from folks that these ring true to what we've shared with you in the past. I'm not able to see the chat, so not sure if there are any questions from anybody or comments. I've just got a couple more slides on this section showing folks kind of a side-by-side of these same priorities next to the sort of original priorities that we had articulated early on in our process. So just for those, you know, if you're interested in kind of seeing how this is playing itself out, just wanted to show you what that looks like. Karen or Heidi, any comments from either of you as we look at these? And no pressure if you don't have any additions.
This looks great, Brian. It's really a culmination of conversations that have been occurring over the last several months. So I just am excited to see these again this morning.
Yeah. Well, and we'll come to another slide here in just a sec too, where there's some questions that I just wanted to bring up. So we'll definitely have a little chance to discuss. So, you know, in this part of our conversation, I wanted to ask this overarching question, right? Like, is there any new thinking since our YDC meeting, and any comments? And then the request of committee chairs, and thanks in part to Karen and Heidi in our last strategic planning committee conversation, and there were others on that call, that we had this idea that you know, we wanted to ensure that there was more conversation around these priorities. So I've listed out, in fact, some of the questions that we asked in our last strategic planning meeting, and just articulated them here. But I think our ask at this point is, we can have some discussion now. We don't have a ton of time, but that committees in their committee meetings think about these priority items, and think about, I've asked these 4 questions. There may be others, or maybe we can refine the questions a little bit, but figured that with the committee chairs on the line, it would be important, I think, for you all to dedicate some time in your committee meetings between now and our retreat. And again, just for those who are, we'll have some more information about the retreat coming here in a second, but wanted to ask that you take this information, and we can send you this PowerPoint deck. We can send you the specific questions to kind of make sure that you're armed and prepared to have some conversation in committee. So just obviously feel free to take notes, but know that we can get you, we'll get you this deck so that you can have these questions. But again, ask that committee and subcommittee spend a little time in conversation about these 4 questions. Again, are there any comments from committee chairs about that request? I feel like you all are some meeting more regularly than others, but given some of the relationships and connections that exist, it feels like it would be good to have some conversation at the committee level. And there might be a comment that came up in the chat. I'm not sure because I can't really see it. So I'll ask Melissa if or somebody to help me if there are any questions in the chat, because I can't see them.
The chat is clear. Thanks, Brian.
Oh, cool. And maybe some folk, if there are any additional folks who've joined the meeting, I can't tell that either.
It looks like we have someone whose screen appears as NNEBA. Is that a new person?
Yeah, that's me. This is Vaughn Aberson. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Seoul District Business Association. And we do youth entrepreneur training programs. So I'm just sitting in and listening to y'all.
Great, thank you. So I guess I'll ask either Heidi or Karen, or again, chairs, about the questions outlined here and any comments.
Brian, this is Celeste. I have a clarifying question. When we did a little bit of the planning in the meeting prior, we had talked about the fact that there might be really specific areas that we could give resource that would really help change system outcomes. So it's about knowing that our resources, when we give them out across the state, we end up, it sounds like a lot of money, but in actuality, it gets spent very fast. And that we, in order to really ensure that we're doing our due diligence and making change, that we think about, is there a specific area in your area, be it juvenile justice or workforce development, where there needs to be some resources to really help move the system along? So maybe it's culturally specific supports in a particular area, or maybe we don't know enough yet in order to ask that because we need to collect some information on the state of, or kind of understand something. So that was my understanding. Are these 4 questions kind of in line with that, or is this kind of an emphasis just more back on looking at the priority areas?
Well, I think I'm going to go with kind of the both and. I mean, I think that one of the things, and we'll see this as as I share some of the kind of preliminary information about the retreat, is that we'll spend some time over 3 days, one, hearing to some extent, like from some outside experts, or to hear a little bit about, what we can hear from folks around, like our sort of our theory of change and our kind of baseline understanding. I think we'll also spend one of our days or part of our time hearing from YDC or YDD/YDC staff, right, in terms of what they've been working on, kind of try to keep it high level enough, but to think a little bit about what work we've been doing as a division. And in doing that, my hope is that we can pull in some of the voice of our grantees. So that can, I think, give us a little bit more grounding in what the needs are, and because our grant managers and our staff are right there working in communities, and then we don't have a ton of time, but I think, and given that I know we've got some of our grantees on the phone and on the line here today, would definitely love to incorporate the voices of our grantees. Maybe we do a survey, and we've done surveys in the past. Abraham Magana and our grant managers have done a survey. We could share some of the results of the survey work that we've done. So in short, I think, Celeste, that we can hear some of that information in our retreat to ensure that we're grounded. As we lead up to that, my hope is that committees can continue to reflect on the priorities, and perhaps maybe it's another question, Celeste, to add to this list of, that says, what are those areas that folks are looking to hear some more information about? So at a committee level, if there's a particular piece of information or area you're interested in us diving a little deeper on, I'd love to hear about what that is. So if there's what other information do we need? That's kind of generic and maybe not the perfect way to frame it, but I think we could add that to this list so that committees could explore, with the hope that either A, we share a little bit at our retreat. Now, again, we have limited time, so we can't necessarily do everything, but it also may be an area that we need to do some further exploration, down the line. Like, so we could identify some places that need to either research or data gathering. So Celeste, does that answer it? And again, I see Heidi shaking her head, and I can't see other people's faces. But if there's other comments, I'd welcome them.
I think Celeste's question really highlights the tension that the Strategic Planning Committee has had, and I think the council has had in general, between wanting sort of boldness, something game-changing, something really significant, and then at the same time facing the realities of where we are today. And certainly I think that's what strategic planning is all about, is about carving a big, bold future and then seeing how we can get there. So in your committee meetings, I think it's important to recognize that tension and to think about that, because that's where creative solutions come out of, right? If you think boldly, you tend to be a little bit more creative in solving the day-to-day issues.
Thanks, Karen.
Brian, this is Janet.
Yeah, Janet.
So these are great questions, and I like that concept, Karen, that reminding us about, what is it we want to do and how do we get there? But so how is this going to link into a particular segment of the retreat? So how is that? What are we going to link this to in that agenda in February?
Yeah, I think that we will depending on when the committee meetings are, and in some cases we need to schedule those. But I think we can I think we have enough time between now and the actual retreat dates to at least have one strategic planning committee meeting to kind of take the information and then figure out how to weave it into the retreat, Janet. So some of that would be to be determined, but maybe, Janet, the way for me to answer that, or certainly Heidi and Karen, please weigh in, or Celeste or others, right? And not limiting this just to myself. Let me go through, well, let me share some of the overall retreat outcomes that we're hoping to achieve. And I think that will help us, help at least give you a little bit more of a context for that retreat. But I think we can integrate the information into either a presentation that we might want to hear from staff or some outside expert, or use that information on our third day of the retreat, which is to really try to identify some more specific actions. So I guess that's how I'd answer that.
That's fine. I'm just, this could be simply a really good warm up for the committees to be thinking about these things, so that you've got that on your mind when we get into the retreat. And there may not be a particular section where we're going to link to it, and I'm fine with that. I just wanted to know the information that you just shared. Thank you.
Of course, Janet. No, it's great. Karen or Heidi, anything from either of you as we think about this?
I have nothing to add. I think that was great.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move us on to the next slide. Okay, so some information about our retreat, and I'll just jump into it. So some outcomes that we've identified. Heidi or Karen, do one of you want to read this?
Maybe Heidi and I can tag team on this.
Yeah, there you
How
go.
about that? I'll start with the first one. So one of the outcomes is deepen relationships as a collective leadership council. There were two facets to that. One is that we, before the pandemic, we were able to meet in person and to get to know each other. But even then, the opportunities were quite slim. And now that we're living in the Zoom universe, it's even slimmer. And so it was important to, I think, for everyone to have a sense of connection to each other and to know our strengths, where are our strengths, and to refamiliarize ourselves with that.
Thanks, Karen. And then the planning committee talked about first providing some information, education, some research, and then we would move into identifying strategies for the strategic plan high-level goals that Brian overviewed for you, with really the goal to lay the groundwork for approval and implementation of a strategic plan draft in March. So we have some segments that we're starting to draft out and still refining around providing information around the latest research, what YDD work that is what YDD work is underway, that YDD leads, and then using that information to inform some of the strategic plan goals. And Karen, go for it.
And then the final one is identify the committee structure to refine and implement the strategic plan. This does not necessarily mean that our committees are going to change. It's just more of a recognition of we need to think about what is the best path forward, and are we aligned in the right way.
Thank you both for that. Any questions from those on the Zoom about these overarching outcomes? And to be clear, we've based on discussions at the committee and hearing really over the, I think over the past probably year and a half of the planning effort, we arrived at these. But are there any questions or comments from those in the Zoom? All right, I'm going to move us forward since we're now at the bottom of the hour and we want to make sure we've got some time at the end for comment. All right, so some quick details, right? Like, we've got three days, roughly 3 hours. Yeah, just be aware. Maybe we'll stretch it to 3.5. I don't know. Given all the stuff that I know we want to accomplish, I've just outlined the dates and times there. Many thanks to Melissa for getting this information out to you late Friday, but we wanted to make sure to get this on people's radars, and we'll get a calendar invitation out later today. But again, just you have this in your email. You have this information in your email. I think we've got an ask about please letting us know that if there's a challenge. But feel good about these dates. We have a quarterly YDC meeting in March. I've got some of those dates at the end of this PowerPoint deck, so you'll be able to see those. But I don't think we could probably go any later than these dates, given the fact that we have a March 18th meeting, if I'm not mistaken. But just again, keep those in mind and look out for a calendar invite. So just some kind of logistical details. Really know that we want to hear from some speakers, both inside and outside of the YDC and YDD, experts and grantees. And again, that may be, it just kind of came to my mind, but I know that our grantees have done a survey of our grantees, and maybe some of the folks on this phone responded, but we can bring that voice into this retreat, and perhaps to hear from a grantee or two as an invited speaker. Want to do some breakout sessions on specific topics, right? So to allow for some small group, and then offer some choice for participants. I want to learn more about this thing, or I might want to kind of focus in. But given if we do that, I could imagine too, there may be some particular conversation or session that you might have to make a choice about and not maybe dive into some other area. So just want to highlight that as we try to make this dynamic, there may be some choice making in that regard. Any questions about these dates and details? All right, I'm not seeing anything. And again, I know Melissa will let me know if there's something in the chat. Staff, of course, will be involved in this, both in terms of presentations and participation, just a reminder there. So staff, really appreciate your taking the time, and obviously staff are on the call today so that they're hearing this, we're all hearing the same information. All right, I'm going to move us forward. Here are just some things that I think we want to explore. You saw, this is not a total repeat of what was on that earlier slide, but just some things that have come out of the strategic planning committee conversations, right? So a couple of the overarching questions. No, to Celeste's point, adding that, like, hey, what else do we need to explore? And then these are just like kind of ideas that are more specific. What is staff restructuring? We're doing some of this, in fact, right? We've started to restructure our staff in some new ways, right? By creating we're in the process of doing that, so it's not totally complete, but we will pretty soon here have our racial and ethnic disparities coordinator as a full-time permanent role. And so these are just ideas of actions. You guys can see this stuff here listed. Are any questions about these areas of exploration? in the retreat?
I really like the AF items, the potential actions. It's it's aggressive. I like it.
Thanks, Janet. Yeah. Let's be aggressive. Let's be bold. Let's, you know, this is the strategic planning. It's the time to think in some new and different ways. So, anything else?
Hey, this is Cord.
Hey, Cord.
I just wanted to maybe bring up something about kind of concurrent timing around developing the grant RFA for the 2021-23 biennium. So right now, you know, with the division staff have kind of been looking at just our current grants, talking about preparation for the next funding cycle. We are, you know, looking at the draft strategic work that exists. But I think that one of the things that I guess I want to just bring up for the council to kind of think about is normally we bring the proposed funding process to the council for approval in the spring meeting. And once that's approved, then we would launch the RFA, and that timeline sets us up to be able to start grants in July of the biennium, the beginning of that 2021-23 biennium. So it kind of means that we have to be building the ship and maybe before the plan is done. Otherwise, we would have to come up with a different timeline for that. So I just kind of wanted to just throw that out there as something to kind of think about in terms of the timing for any, you know, we're trying to take this work into account as the staff thinks about the grant making process to bring to the council. But it's you know, to some extent tough to do that when that work is still evolving. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but just want to put that out there.
Thanks, Cord. Yeah, I think what Cord is saying is, in particular related to this item like E, we're already starting to do that. This is happening, right? We are either being more intentional, looking at changes, adjustments. The team is working on it right now and needs to get that completed so that we can roll out an RFA in a timely way. So as part of the retreat on that action item in particular, ideally at a high level, we can kind of share our direction. You will then in March see a more specific presentation around that so that we can approve it and move forward. Am I right, Cord?
Yes, I mean, I think that was one of the, maybe that's a good proposal, is that some form of the plans that the staff have developed would be shared with the council at the retreat, so that what we would bring forward in March could still be approved as a plan for rolling the RFA out. And ultimately, the strategic plan can influence work beyond 21-23. You know, so ultimately, I think that every biennium is kind of a work in progress. We learn and we evolve in terms of the funding priorities and process. But I think that we could bring forward the ideas that we've developed and that are informed by the surveys and feedback from grantees in February at the strategic planning meeting, and then take feedback before bringing a more final plan in March to the full council meeting.
Thanks, Cord. I'm going to move us on because we're just down the last 15 minutes or so here. I know we want to have a little time at the end for comment. So this is some important information that I want to share with council, and really appreciate Alyssa being here from the governor's office. And I know too Melissa from the YDD as our council administrator there's some, I don't know, work to do to kind of get some things cleaned up. And so just wanted to highlight this information. My plan is to bring a more specific conversation around governance to the rules committee. So Janet, the excitement will begin soon to really dive in more deeply into this. And Sanji, I was hearing you potentially, or maybe somebody, I don't know. Is there a comment out there? I thought I heard something. No.
No, I don't have any comments right now. I got an invitation to unmute myself, so I thought I would just respond.
Thanks, Sanji. All right, so going into governance, some needs here for us. Tried to articulate this. Sorry for all the words on the page, but just want to be clear that there's like multiple variables, right? I'm in as a new director, COVID-19, racial injustice reckoning, wildfires. There's lots going on, and yet at the same time, there are, I think, a number of things that we need to attend to as far as our council is concerned. We do need to. We've deeply appreciated your leadership, Celeste, but we are at a point, in fact, probably overdue, where we need to identify a new chair and co-chair for the council. Part of the reason I asked Alyssa to be on the call today was just to hear this information, see the information, have a chance to be kind of introduced into this group. Know that part of what's going on is Lindsay Capps, who is our policy advisor, and Alyssa are both like being pulled in a million different directions. So it's not that Lindsay's gone away or anything. He's just going to focus on on some other things. And Alyssa, who worked at the early learning division and has some real specific experience around councils and committees, has made herself available to us to help us untangle some of this. Alyssa, do you want to say anything real quickly?
Oh, thank you. No, and apologies. My computer is not happy, so I can't turn my camera back on. But no, yeah. Lindsay, obviously, there's a lot around school reopening. I'm sure you can imagine the meeting season right now. And so I'm trying to just help make sure that we can keep the great work of the Youth Development Council moving, the strategic planning work. I think there's a lot of opportunity with the Governor's Racial Justice Council work that she's established that we can really capitalize on and see some exciting investments and policies coming forward. So whatever I can do to offer help, if anyone has questions or ideas, you're welcome to reach out to me as well. And just thank you for having me this morning.
Thanks, Alyssa. So we'll work with Alyssa on identifying leadership, because that is a governor appointed role. So keep that in mind. This next bullet around YDC terms, we have several members whose terms have expired or are going to. So I don't want to get into all of those details and weeds here, but Melissa has a very specific list that I asked her to develop, and we even thought we might potentially share it, but I think we don't have the time to do it. But we will bring a more specific list to the governance, rules and governance committee. It's not called governance, but again, we'll bring that information to that committee and dive into it so that we can look closely at whose terms, whose paperwork we need to get in, or what we're waiting for some approval for. All those details we'll make sure that we cover to get that all sorted out. And then just wanted to note, right, the YDC committees and subcommittees, we have some particularly active committees, as folks know. They're on the call: juvenile justice, workforce and reengagement, strategic planning. More ad hoc, but somewhat inactive, right? The rules and bylaws and nominations, but we're going to activate that because we have some specific needs that we need to dive in. I know as noticed on our website, we have an educational supports and developmental assets subcommittee. I don't know if that's still happening, but Just wanted to acknowledge that that's something. And then, as I said, he noted earlier, right? I think as a part of the retreat, we should be looking at ideas and possibilities to restructure and align. I mean, I think it'd be helpful to have like an executive committee. This is in some ways what this chairs committee is, and if meeting in advance of our council meetings makes sense, I think that could be helpful. We're talking a lot about equity and disparity, so I think there's some opportunity there to formulate a subcommittee, maybe a policy subcommittee, or maybe that's work that falls within the rules committee. I don't know, but just wanted to kind of put these ideas on the table for us to consider. To be clear, as it relates to the leadership and the member terms, we will get the rules committee together to dive more deeply in on that. And again, since we don't have a lot of time, just wanted to give a second for any questions on this information.
I just wanted to add, Brian, I think we technically have an executive committee, but I don't think it's ever met. And so, so I think it would be wonderful to consider having one and then figuring out what its purpose and mode of operation would be, as you said.
Great. And so I assume that's probably like the chair, the co-chair, and is it beyond, is that it? So, I'm asking Karen, maybe you don't know, but
I don't know. I know that I was placed on it, and I'm not sure who else was nominally placed on it at our last retreat, but
okay.
Yeah.
Brian, it was the chair, co-chair, and committee chairs. So because we haven't had a lot of active committees, I think that for a while it's had only 4 to 5 people. And you're right, it's been a really long time since we've met.
Okay. All right. Well, we can. I appreciate that. Thank you, Celeste. I was going to ask either you or Chief Teague, who are great, have that great history for the YDC. So I'm going to stop talking. I don't know if I have any other. Oh, I just had a next steps slides, like some things that we need to kind of get moving and scheduled on. We will share this deck with you after the meeting so that you can have it and have the contents and maybe even devise a little more specific kind of slide or two around what you should bring to your committees. But that's it from me. Celeste, do you want to make any final comments? And then I know, Celeste, you also need to go. So if you need to jump off, I can facilitate this part, but wanted to leave about 5 minutes or so for comment. All right, Celeste, I think since you're muted, are there any comments from, oh, Celeste, you're back.
Right. Yeah, sorry, Zoom has repeatedly dropped me. I wanted to just say my lens here is that, as a system building agency, it's really important that we understand the system. And I think that since I've been a part of the YDC, we haven't really done a lot of deliberate work to say who are our grantees and what struggles do they have and how can we support them. And I would just think about ODE and its relationship with schools, or the early learning division and its relationship with early learning providers. And I think that we have some opportunity to improve what we know so that when we are having these conversations, we have more information going forward. So I just like to put a pin in that and just say we can talk about that more at the strategic planning retreat. And thank you all. I have to leave for an appointment, so I'm going to put myself on mute so I can still listen to the public comment. But Brian, if you want to take it away for the last little bit of the meeting, that would be wonderful.
Great. So public comment period is now open. We'd ask that you keep your comments probably to about a minute, just because we don't have a ton of time. But is there any comment from folks on the Zoom who are part of the public? I see a raised hand from Rachel Lackey, and that's probably a good way to do it. Like if you raise your hand, I'll stop sharing my screen. Rachel, do you have a comment you'd like to make?
Hey, yeah, it's more, it's less of a comment and more of an invitation. And in Marion Polk County, currently, we are drafting a 5-year community health improvement plan. And essentially, it's a plan to improve healthcare in the Marion Polk region. And we renew the process every 5 years. Working with a lot of community partners, Pacific Source, the county governments, as well as folks who are working on the ground. And I just want to extend the invitation to anybody here, as well as your partners and folks you work with, to participate in the plan. Our priority areas this year are substance use, behavioral health, and housing. So if you have any specialty experience in this area or would like to learn more, I'll put my email in the chat. It's a great way to really make a tangible difference in the region. And this plan also kind of guides funding for programs for the next 5 years as well. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm totally available via email or on the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Other comments? If folks could raise their hand or let me know, be happy to hear from you. Not seeing anything. We'll give it another minute or two. All right. Well, I think we've accomplished what we needed to accomplish this morning. I really appreciate everybody taking the time. You will hear more from us, as you know, either via email or otherwise, right, with this PowerPoint. We'll get this deck also posted to our website so that folks can access it that way. Appreciate, again, folks taking the time. Happy New Year, staff. We're about to go into a staff-related meeting, so I'm going to see many of you again. Thanks, chairs and co-chairs and our leadership. Thanks also, Governor's Office. You get a couple minutes. Back to your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.